Oh, buddy, Andy here again. I just watched a video by OhCurt all about a high school reunion that he went to about 4 years ago now, and he was talking about the whole thing of high school reunions, going back and meeting people as opposed to social networking, and the way that we can sort of reacquaint ourselves with people that we used to know years ago, that we moved away from, lost touch with. But is it really any substitute for the real thing, if you know what I mean, actually meeting the person face to face? And it reminded me of something that happened to me yesterday, but more to do with family. Family is one of those things I've talked about recently, and how we lose touch with family, and for whatever reason, sometimes we can we can't choose our family, but we can choose our friends, and all the sort of issues and problems that can possibly bring. But yesterday, it was my father's funeral yesterday, and we had obviously everybody turned up, and then we went and had the event afterwards, and people getting to know each other again, reacquainting ourselves. And in a perverse sort of way, it was enjoyable, because even my sister said to me, and actually my mother did as well, prior to the funeral, the day before, we were just talking about what was going to be happening the following day, and our sort of fears and hopes maybe about what was going to happen, how we're going to get through it, etc. But both my mother and my sister said that in a strange way they were actually looking forward to it, because it gives you that chance of actually reacquainting yourself, meeting people that you hadn't seen for a long time. And it's one of those things that happens. It's the hatches, matches and dispatches, as we call it over here, the sort of births, deaths and marriages, and sometimes the only sort of times that people ever get together as families now. And you see people, and sometimes the family friends as well. It's not just the actual relatives, the blood relatives, it's some sort of friends that you might have met. I met people yesterday, friends of the family, that I haven't seen since I was a teenager or in my 20s, and things like that. And even sort of relatives who you probably would not go to see. You probably wouldn't go out of your way to go to these sort of family events, the normal family events, that the birthdays and that type of thing. But when it's something like a funeral, when it's something like a wedding or a christening, one of those sort of momentous times in the life, and especially at funeral, there's a slightly different atmosphere, because people come to pay their respects. They're there because they want to be there. I'm sure some people turn up because they feel they ought to, but no one should ever feel they ought to go to a funeral. You go there to pay your respects. If you're there because you want to be there, if you see what I mean. And it's surprising, some of the people that do turn up, and maybe some of the people that don't, but some people who are there who you maybe don't expect to see. But you get into these conversations with people, as I said, both friends and family. And it was great. Actually, yesterday evening, my voice was sort of, I felt as though I was losing my voice. Maybe it was the sort of the emotional impact of the day as well. But also just reacquainting yourself. And it was very enjoyable to get back together, to talk about people, to sort of talk about old times, inevitably go back to those embarrassing stories that they told you about when you were a kid, and and your hair was down here, sort of thing, which I was reminded of yesterday. And it was the thing that a particular couple remembered about me, when I had really long hair and this sort of stuff. And it sort of takes you back. But it's good to reacquaint yourself, as I said, to talk about things, talk about the memories that you had of your father and that they had as well, things that they learnt as well throughout the service itself. But just talking about life, and I was talking to my cousins who I hadn't seen for a while, other relatives that, once again, people who come over from Ireland you don't see very often. A good way of getting to know each other, and makes you wonder sometimes, something like that. The first experience I've had of something quite as close to home, maybe. As that type of experience, never had that before, and it makes you think, well, maybe I should actually make the effort and go to some of these things more. The high school reunion type of thing, I'm not sure about that. There's a difference there. Or you grow apart from things. You may grow apart from your family, but you do have a common bond there. There's a common theme, a common thread that you can always go back to. With friends, you lose contact, and maybe you've got something from years ago, but it's not a blood tie, is it, or something like that. It's a slightly different thing. So I just wanted to say that I'm going to do other videos about this sort of topic. Other ideas will spring out of this, I'm sure, of what happened yesterday. A slightly different day, a surreal day, yes, but a good day in as much as we got back together, lots of people there, for the right reasons, having a chat, remembering, catching up on old times, and maybe building ties for the future as well. So sometimes good can come out of a bad situation as well. So I'll leave it there. Anyway, thanks for your time. I'll speak to you again soon. Goodbye.